Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the 19.7 Adaptive Visibility launch event for the latest release of the Plixer One Platform. Today, we're going to go over some of the exciting new features related to how we access data on the platform and new sources of data that we can bring into our visibility. Joining me today is Plixer CTO Paul Picard and Senior Director of Engineering Erik Peterson. Paul will review some of the objectives of this release and some of the main features, while Erik will show us those features in the product itself. And my name is Adam Howarth. I'm a data scientist here at Plixer, and I'm very excited about the features we're introducing today as it makes data from more locations and new ways of accessing it more exciting than ever on the Plixer platform. Paul, if you'd like to begin, do you have some insight into kind of the main objectives and things we're hoping to achieve with this release?
Yeah, sure. So let's go ahead and get started. So today we're presenting, like Adam said, our latest release of Plixer One, which is version 19.7. The Plixer team is very excited about this release. A lot of great features here that we'll be talking about today. So I'll start by giving an overview, and we'll start right here, and then Erik will show you all the features in the product, and we'll answer questions at the end. So the major features of this release, it's basically every capability is supported by one of three strategic areas: intelligence, visibility, and context. So first off is intelligence. This is where Plixer is releasing new functionality to move AI from buzzwords and novelty to real utility. So we've created the Plixer AI Assistant. It's embedded AI directly into Plixer One to help with analyst workflows, making navigation of the product as easy as just asking a question. Next up, we have extended visibility. That's where visibility, we're changing it and we're expanding it. It doesn't stop at whether it's an edge, a tunnel, containers. Those shouldn't be in separate tools for visibility and forensics. So Zscaler, Kubernetes are some new additions to our visibility platform, combined with some interesting SNMP functionality that we're adding with our flow capabilities and public cloud capabilities as well. So we're building a continuous view and full visibility across all your environments, connecting every surface for performance, for security, with the same user interface, with same analytics. It's consistency across all your environments. So when you think about how important a high priority alert is, whether it's in cloud or on-prem or Zscaler or any of these environments, it should mean the same thing. With Plixer One, it does. Third, we're building interactive context. Basically, we've moved beyond static dashboards. Networks are moving so fast, they're dynamic, they're changing all the time. We have new versions of Flowhopper and automated topology views that start bringing the network information to life, showing where not just traffic flows, but how it behaves, how it changes, and our interface updates with those changes as well. So these three areas are what we're defining as adaptive visibility, with intelligence, visibility, and context moving at the same speed that your network does and giving you great insight into what's happening in your environment as a whole. So that's kind of the overview of it. Now, next slide, we'll talk about great functionality here, Plixer AI Assistant. This is brand new. It's in Plixer One, and this is one of the exciting features, and we plan to continue building on this feature. This is 19.7 is our first release of our Plixer AI Assistant, and this is our start. So we have much more planned in Q1 of next year, but this is where we start getting visibility to get smarter. Every analyst wants to be faster, every analyst wants speed, but part of using any tool is you spend time clicking through menus and looking for pivots and looking for information. So the Plixer AI Assistant lets you work the way you think. You ask in plain language instead of searching menus, documentation. You can ask if there's something on your network. You can ask the tool, is there telnet traffic on your network? And it'll create the report for you. That's some of the power of it. Next slide, we'll have a little more details on it. The power of the AI is assisting users with Plixer One. It can automatically create reports, apply filters. If you want to change the hosts on the report you're looking at, what you're viewing, timeframes, or even the chart type, that's no problem. Just type in the instructions, just like you're speaking to a person, and Plixer One will do that for you. That includes navigating the interface, like adding users and things like that. So you don't need to be a power user. You don't need to be in the tool each and every day. You don't need to remember how everything works. Just type in and get the answer. So it's like having what we're trying to do here is making sure that if you need expert knowledge of your environment, you don't need to have expert knowledge of a tool to do that. Part of this is that it's secure by design, just like everything else we have at Plixer. And Plixer One, whether it's machine learning or AI, it's secure by design. We don't send your network traffic to the cloud. This is something that we have enabled in a cloud service. So if you would like to use our LLMs and our AI, you can. Otherwise, you can bring your own to it as well. As long as it has open AI APIs, you can use it as well. So the goal isn't to replace analysts here, it's to amplify them, make them better, make them faster. It shortens time, and that's what we're doing here, shortening time between thinking about something, asking a question, and getting the answer. It's about being more productive. So that's what Plixer AI Assistant is bringing to the product. And we'll show more of this. Erik will show this later in the presentation. Let's move on to Zscaler. So this is a great feature, something a lot of customers have asked for. Zero Trust is basically becoming the standard for secure access, right? So the problem with that sometimes it's a little bit of a black box where you don't see the data because the encrypted tunnels are protecting data, but you can't see what's actually happening inside. So customers have been saying, hey, we'd like to continue to use Plixer, but part of our network has now been not visible anymore. So how do we get that back? Well, we partnered with Zscaler and created an integration which allows us to ingest traffic from Zscaler products and make that traffic explainable again. So we enrich ZIA and ZPA telemetry, mapping users, applications, connector activity, things like that with no decryption and no agents. So the result is basically you can move from alert to timeline, full timeline in seconds, see the policies that were enforced, who it affected, and how it performed. So this is basically the bridge between secure access and operational visibility. So something the Zero Trust ecosystem and things like Zscaler really provide great value in in helping secure your access, but we also will help you now give you that visibility into it in a single interface with everything else to correlate and to get information on in the interface that you know and in the same analytics and same information you get. So that's our new integration with Zscaler. Next up, we'll talk about some new views and some new observability that we have as well. This is one of my favorite parts of the release because it's basically visual proof that the platform understands the network. It's really around getting visibility in a way that you can point and click and have very, very easy access into the information. Flowhopper traces any conversation end to end, routers, switches, clouds, whatever path that traffic takes. And the topology view builds itself automatically, redrawing the map as needed and as items like interfaces and devices change. So you can see how everything relates. You can see traffic links, things like that, and how it all relates to each other. And it's a great way to pinpoint hops or interfaces that are causing issues. It's a great way to dive into the product and visually see where things are. It becomes interactive, it's intuitive, and it's very immediate to see what's happening, point and click, and get the information, get those reports out there in a very visual way. So, like I said, Erik will talk more about this and we'll see this in action. But next up is Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is basically, where modern applications are living now. It's where containers are spun up and spun down pretty quickly sometimes, and they shift or disappear faster than a lot of tools can keep up with them. But it's often a blind spot for monitoring tools. So with 19.7, we're closing that gap. We collect NetFlow directly from Kubernetes workloads, mapping pod to pod, traffic, and service mesh behavior. So it means if someone says microservice is slow or things like that, we can trace it all the way down from container to the core. This allows you to see everything again on all your environments at the same time. So when analytics are the same, whether it's on the cloud, on-prem, in Zscaler, Kubernetes, you get consistent detection. So a high priority alert A high issue is the same across all your environments. On-prem clouds, containers, visibility and alarms are the same, and you don't need to look across different consoles. So different environments, different consoles, you don't need to do that because Plixer One can ingest all that traffic in a vendor agnostic way at high scale. And containers are now part of that visibility story with the rest of the network. So those are some of the great features. And Adam, I think you're up next to talk about MCP support.
Yeah, thank you, Paul, for that summary of features. So MCP is something I'm really excited about on the platform. If we think about LLMs and how AI is starting to kind of creep into workflows across IT operations and network operations, one of the downsides of an LLM is that they're trained on a corpus of data, and then effectively they're fixed until a new model is trained and updated with what they understand. This creates a real challenge around real-time data sources and things that are dynamic that you need to apply that AI against. By having MCP server support on our platform, this enables AI tools that you're using across functional departments within an organization to have access to real-time network insights and observations about traffic that are going on. So ultimately, if you have a workflow that leverages an AI agent, whether it becomes the Plixer AI Assistant that we're introducing today, or one that you already are working through, Microsoft Security Copilot, you name it, by integrating with our MCP server, all of the information that the platform's aware of, the context about the things on the network infrastructure itself, as well as the entities that are leveraging the network, become available to an AI on demand through the standard tool call support that MCP represents. For those that don't have a background in MCP, it's effectively an API for AIs. So that way they can talk to a platform, understand what capabilities are there for it to leverage, and then ultimately integrate the results of those tool calls back into the context of your initial conversation. So if you're investigating a particular host from a different system, that maybe, an event pops in a different system, there's an AI tool there that can tie into our MCP server. You immediately have access to the real-time network insights that we've collected on our platform that can be integrated directly into that workflow. So I'm very excited. I think as time goes on, this will be an extremely powerful component of the platform for giving, again, network observability data to any workflow that requires it. Next, we'll pivot over to Erik and get into some of the SNMP and NetFlow unification that joins us in the 19.7 release. Erik?
All right, thanks, Adam. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Some really cool stuff coming along here. Specific to SNMP, we've had a lot of requests from you folks over the years to add to what we do with SNMP. As many of you know, we've always used SNMP to collect interface speeds and interface names and device names and some of that information that we provide around our flow exporters. And what we've done is we've rebuilt our SNMP engine for this release, and it adds the ability to collect other counters and trend those over time. So adding to the basic stuff we've always collected, we're now also collecting packet drops, packet errors. So that starts giving you visibility outside of the pipe, if you will. Flow data tells you what's going on with the packets that are traversing through an interface. But this also now gives you the ability to see when a packet was dropped before it made it to the interface, or if there's errors on an interface that could be impacting that traffic. And we've merged this all into, excuse me, our existing reporting interface. So you can see, we'll show you in a minute here, but it's seamless to pivot between the SNMP data and your flow data. Along with that new functionality, we have additional authentication options with SNMP v3 and using the 256-bit encryption, which people have been asking for. We're also using SNMP to collect Cisco Discovery Protocol, link layer discovery protocol, and that's driving the underlying data sources for Topology, Flowhopper, and some of the things that we'll see here as we move into a demo. So rather than talking to a slide, why don't I show you guys what this is going to really look like. All right, there we go. You should be seeing the top interfaces view now. So I'm going to talk a little bit first about SNMP within the interface. You see this is the top interfaces view that you're all familiar with. And we can drill in and we can run a report on any one of these interfaces on our flow data. And you'll see we now have available. Actually, I wanted to pick this interface because I know that there are actually some errors on this guy. If we drill in, you can see SNMP is an option. So it's just another report type where the source is coming from SNMP data. You see you'll have the same filtering interface, date selector, report menu, everything that you're used to. I can see here, we're collecting bytes and packets, but we also have errors and discards here. If I change my sort to errors, and I can see the errors trended over time. And so now I know that something's going on with this interface, but now if I want to know what is the impacted traffic, I can go ahead and just drill in on that interface and say, show me what are the conversations that are going on. And I've pivoted from SNMP data into flow data, all within the same interface, which I think is a really nice workflow. So that's what we have today, and there will be more coming. For some Cisco devices, we're collecting CPU data. We'll be adding memory and other statistics. I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you what would be interesting to trend via SNMP as we move forward. So the next thing I'd like to do is to talk a little bit about AI and show you guys what that workflow looks like. Let's just take an example here. Say we have Oscar in accounting, and he's reported to us that the financials application is running slow, and there's something odd going on. So a traditional workflow before AI is we go into top interfaces, we could go and find the device for the observation point, either for the data center or for where Oscar is within the Scranton location. But I'm going to use AI to do this for me. You guys are all power users, but you might have some new people on the team who are coming in and aren't super familiar with how to run a report like this. So we can pull up the AI, and I'm just going to go in. No, that isn't what I wanted. That was a meeting ID. I'm not going to make you watch me type because typing isn't a strong point here. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, show me the financials application report, traffic report for the Scranton accounting switch. And now this is using the Plixer available endpoint, which is hosted in Bedrock with Amazon. We also have the ability to use your own LLMs, your own internally for an endpoint, if that's something that you would like. So you can see the AI went through and ran this report for me. It gave me a little summary of what it did. And if I go up here and mouse over my filter, I can see that it included the financials defined application, and it found the Scranton switch for accounting as the observation point. So knowing that this is a current event that's happening right now I'm going to ask the AI to refine this for me a little bit. So I'm just going to say, let's switch this to a top host report for the last 15 minutes. And now we are, again, sending this data leveraging Bedrock and that LLM for this use case. But we've also have a vector store locally, and we've included all of our defined applications, our IP groups, device names, interface names, and other relevant information, vectorize that for the RAG for the LLM. So you can see now this went and pivoted and showed us we were looking at the top hosts. And if I go back up to the filter, it changed my report time. It changed my time frame. It changed my report type, and it maintained the filter that I had in here before. So now I'm going to show you a couple other things here in reporting that hopefully will be interesting. We can go ahead and we can close the AI, and it'll show up down in the bottom right. Or if we think that that's a little bit too much in our face, we can go ahead and use this icon in the upper right, and it'll hide it away. I'll show you that in a second. You also have the option to give this a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And if you put in a comment and hit the thumbs down, that's going to pass on to us what your request was and what your comment was about that request. We're not keeping any of the data relative to your exporters, your flow data. None of that is stored. but it will pass on to us what you were asking AI to do for you and why you liked it, or why you thought it could have been a little bit different. So we're looking forward to seeing how everybody's using this tool. So in the upper right hand corner here, if I click that icon, you can see now the AI assistant is moved up into the upper right hand corner of the UI. So not quite as in your face as it is down bottom. So we gave you some options there. So back to our scenario of Oscar and the financials application. I'm now looking at the list of hosts, but I want to go in and I want to see actually what the usernames were. So within the report menu, we have the ability to search for report types, and we have the descriptions of these reports. That was added in the last version. If you guys aren't familiar with that, it makes the report menu really nice and easy to use. And I'm going to pivot from this report to show the usernames. So now I can go in here and I can see, oh, okay, Oscar is 30.51. I don't see any traffic patterns jumping out that are different. But let's go take a look at Flowhopper and see what Flowhopper shows us about how his traffic is traversing the network. So I'll drill in on his IP address. You'll notice this is another new change in 19.7, where the report menu provides additional context on what the pivot filter will be. As you guys probably know, when I'm running a report and I drill in on something in the report table, not only does it let me change the report type context, but it also adds the filter context of whatever it is I clicked on. So I'm going to go and I'm going to switch to a connections report. Connections are where we make Flowhopper available, and that's because within the spectrum of visualization, Flowhopper is the most granular. Flowhopper is looking at an individual source port and source IP, destination port and destination IP, and it's going and it's showing you how that flow actually traversed the network. So you'll see within the connections report, we have the Flowhopper icon. I'll go ahead and click on that. And what this is going to do is it's going to go and look at, do I have next hop information? If I don't have next hop information, it'll go and leverage CDP and LLDP information. It'll look at routing tables, and it'll look at where this flow could possibly go within the network. Then it's going to go and it's going to look on each one of those observation points and say, do we see the flow there? And how did it actually move through the network? So you can see with this visualization now, we're seeing Oscar's host 30.51. See, he's going through the accounting switch in Scranton, the router in Scranton. And then we can see that that traffic is going out to the router in New York, to the data center, and then to the finance server. What's interesting here is it's showing us that on the path back, when this flow leaves the New York router, it's not going directly back to the Scranton router. It's going to the Stanford router. And we can see by mousing over that, sorry, I'm jumping around a lot here with my mouse. We can see the path going back from B to A, that the next hop is indeed going to that Stanford router. Flowhopper saw that and went and looked in Stanford. And then we saw that the flow actually did go through that device. This points out that we have an asymmetrical route, and it's something that things may be working, but they're not working necessarily as designed or as intended. And this helps us visually see that in a really clear way. So that's Flowhopper. It's an interesting tool. And like I said, within the spectrum of visualization, it's the most granular way of looking at traffic across your network and visualizing that. It's one individual flow. Then if we want to go and zoom out sort of to the highest level visualization, that would be, how are all of your network devices connected to each other? So this is showing all of your, this is our little dev network here in Kennybunk, and it's showing you our routers and firewalls and switches and how they're connected. If I drill in on that, I can see the device details about that device. I can pivot to the entity view for that, or I can run a report for the observation point and say, I want to see flows that are happening in that particular spot. And we also have the ability to go and see interfaces. So if I drill in on an interface, it's going to show me the context of the devices that are communicating. It's going to show me how it determined that link is there and what the instances are. And if I drill in, I'm going to get some additional details. And again, the ability to run a report for that specific interface or that specific observation point. So now we've looked at Flow Hopper at the very granular level. We have this automatic topology view at a very high level, and we're going to be, there's some new exciting things that are coming along with this in future releases. But SNMP laid the foundation with LLDP and CDP, and now we have this visualization, and there'll be more cool stuff to come that builds on top of this. I'm going to pivot from there to Kubernetes because I want to show you guys some cool stuff that we're doing with Kubernetes monitoring. And it also gives you a little look into kind of what I think of as our mid-range data visualization. And that's at the reporting level, where we have a connection report that will show you how hosts are communicating within a report. So we'll get to that in just a second. But just to start, you can see I created a basic dashboard with some Kubernetes data. This is coming from our ML engine, which uses Kubernetes as the underlying technology. So we can see what are my top source pods, top destination pods, and then what is the top communication within the Kubernetes cluster in a visualization. And then at the bottom here, I also included some of the vitals information, because not only are we showing you the network communications between your pods and nodes, but we're also within this dashboard and within this utility, we're sending vitals information. So CPU and memory use by pods, by nodes. So you can see over time, is there something odd going on in a dashboard view like this, or you could drill in and run a report. I'm going to drill in on this connections report though, and show you some of the visualization stuff I was talking about. So when I drill in, I can now see within my connections report the top, each of the top 10 are going to show up as colored, just as the report below shows us. And I can go and mouse over those lines and say, okay, that's port 8080, and it's communication between these two pods. And then you can see the majority of the traffic is going to be with those two pods based on the color of those, the size of the circles around them. So this is interesting within the context of Kubernetes, but it's also just a connection graph type. It was introduced a few versions back, but those of you who've been using the tool for a while may not have noticed or be aware that it's there. Any report that's using source and destination information will allow you to have this connection report type. So you could do this IP group to IP group, autonomous system to autonomous system, host to host, etc. So that is a quick look at what we're doing with Kubernetes monitoring. Again, you'll see that it's just another exporter. It's taking the data, normalizing it to IPFix, and sending it to us. So all of this data becomes available through your standard reporting, dashboard gadgets. You could set up thresholds and notifications if you wanted to. You can also monitor any of these IP addresses for behavior within the ML engine. Your flow analytics algorithms are going to be looking at these hosts. And that's, again, not only across Kubernetes, but across all of your clouds as well. So that is the Kubernetes. And now let's take a look at a Zscaler example here. This is another dashboard that I set up for Zscaler. And what we're doing is we are pulling data for ZIA and ZPA. This is primarily a ZIA example here. And solving the problem that the people with Zscaler see. They loved having Scrutinizer in the past to show them what's happening within a tunnel, what's happening within their network. And once Zscaler is introduced, now you're seeing a GRE tunnel. And you're not, they were telling us we're blind to what's happening within that tunnel. So what we've done is we've gone and integrated with Zscaler to pull down the information about what the flows are inside the tunnels and provide reporting on that to give you that single pane of glass, full visibility that you're used to in Scrutinizer. So a couple of interesting things. I created a gadget here to show what are the top data centers, what are the top tunnel IPs that are being used. We have a gadget that shows what are the top categories, but really kind of the meat and potatoes and what people are really interested in seeing most of the time in Scrutinize or in Plixer One is going to be what is the traffic. So I have this internet traffic gadget. You can see that there was a little bit of a spike there. If we drill in on that, it's going to again pivot us into reporting, and we can see exactly what that traffic was, the client, server, application, all those details that were obfuscated by Zscaler are now visible again within Plixer One. So that is what I had. Those are the bits that I wanted to show off. I hope you guys found that interesting and informative. And certainly if that raises any questions or if you want to dive more deeply into this, reach out to us anytime.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Erik. So as we've been going along, quite a few questions have come in. We are kind of coming up against time, but I want to address a few of them. So for the first one, I can kind of spin it over to Paul, maybe. There's quite a few questions asking about future support around other zero trust or SASE solutions. What does the future roadmap look like for support for other products like Zscaler?
Sure. Like anything else, we are extremely customer driven, and Zscaler was something that customers requested, and so we made sure to include that. And just like anything else, if we see customers asking for something, and I think I saw something about Netscope or something like that, we will certainly look at it and see what we can do there. So obviously more integrations, depending what customers' environments are and what they're looking for, we're happy to do that. And, part of our goal is to make sure we have visibility across everything, and just that's the value of the platform. So making sure that we have, whether it's, like I said, cloud or secure tunnels, we have to make sure that we're importing that information and integrating properly. So yeah, you can definitely see more on the horizon. Just, we need to make sure that we get requests from customers to do that. So Netscope seems to be one on my list now. We're going to start investigating that as well. We have had some conversations with them, but we'll look at it and see where that goes from there. But certainly we're not done with integrations, and more visibility on a single interface, user interface is better for everyone. So something we're always looking to do.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. I think maybe this one's focused more towards you, Erik. I noticed the replicator icon in the main Plixer One UI. Can replicator be configured from this UI now?
Yes. Yeah. Great question. Great question. As part of this release, we've consolidated the Plixer One platform so that the replicator UI is part of the same UI as what you've been used to with Plixer One and Scrutinizer in the past. We still have a standalone replicator option, which will give you that UI in a standalone way. We can also deploy replicator now as a headless option, where you could have multiple replicators all managed through a single UI. And you can also just have replicator be on your primary Plixer One reporting machine and manage everything right there. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about replicator. We didn't touch on that here, but there's some really neat stuff coming there as well. That was released yesterday there. The UI I find to be very, very nice in terms of filtering and pivoting and understanding what's going on. There's some cool stuff. So any replicator users out there, reach out. We'd love to show you what we did.
Awesome. Thank you, Erik. And again, there's quite a few here, so if we don't get to your question, we will follow up offline, certainly. But as the last one, and this is maybe kind of a jump ball, can the AI assistant run reports against flow data from AWS or Azure?
Sure, absolutely. The AI assistant can run reports based on flow data from any of the sources that we accept. So, yep, for sure.
Perfect. All right, thank you, Erik. Yeah, I always try to remind people that Cloudflow logs are a first-class data quality with us. Everything's been built around that exact type of metadata, so it actually works out pretty happily. So, perfect. Again, so if we didn't get to your question, we'll certainly follow up offline and make sure we address everybody. But otherwise, thank you very much for joining us today. Keep in mind, 19.7 is out now. You can reach out and create a support ticket or interact with your customer success team, and we can get you on the path to 19.7 starting today. So again, thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to everyone exploring 19.7. Thank you.